That summer by the river, the old house woke with the light and listened for the words we did not know how to say. I am old now, and the city has taken the edge from my memory like a dull blade that has spent a lifetime scraping stone. Yet there are Sundays when a whiff of lilac will wander through my window, and I am there again, standing at the threshold of that pale yellow house. The river outside sounding as if it were weeping softly for us all. Time, I have learned, does not erase. It tucks things away and waits, patient as the shadow under a kitchen chair, until a quiet breath of wind nudges them back into the air. That summer, Mara and I found the house at the bend of the river to be a kind host, if a patient one. It wore its years with a quiet dignity, the peeling paint, the windowsills thick with dust that glittered when the sun struck them just so, the door latch that clicked like a small tired prayer whenever you closed it. The adults spoke in hushed tones about the heat, about chores, about not wandering too far into the grove beyond the yard. But Mara and I did wander, and the house followed us with its long, patient gaze. In the late afternoons, when the air held a sweetness that was almost a memory of sweetness, Mara and I would press our faces to the cool glass of the kitchen window and whisper the names of the dead we had not yet met. The house listened. It would answer not with words, but with a breath, the floorboards sighing under a weight they should not bear, the wallpaper curling at the seams as if listening with us, the chandelier giving a tremble that felt like a small, living tremor in the chest. If we asked for stories, the house offered them in the way a mother might tell a child a bedtime tale, with a soft insistence, with a hint of danger kept just out of sight, with a moral tucked in a line of sweetness and sorrow. It was Mara who first said we should leave the names of the dead on the sill, the way sailors leave flags for ships on a stormy night. We would place a little cup of milk there, a crumb of bread beside it, and then listen. The house never filled the cup, but sometimes a cool breeze would drift in from the open back door and carry with it a scent of bread and rain, as if someone had walked through with a warm hand on Mara's shoulder. We believed this to be a sign that the house remembered someone, and that memory could come to life if you waited long enough, if you listened with your small, hopeful heart. The person we spoke of most, perhaps because she was the first to vanish into the house's keeping, was Mara herself. Not Mara as she stood there in the light of the doorway, all bright hair and laughter, but Mara as she might become if we forgot to close the door properly that night, or if we forgot to feed the house the way the house asked to be fed. She was the girl of summers we should have known better than to keep. On the third week of that long hot season, Mara vanished. The door of the back pantry, which had always stood ajar at the edge of our rambling games, shut with a soft, final click we did not understand. The air cooled, as if a window had been slammed in another room, and there was a silence that pressed against our throats until we could not swallow without hearing a tiny sound behind our own tums. The taste of something old and closed off, something that did not want to be found again. The house did not scream or rage when Mara left. It did not even seem surprised. It simply resumed its day as if Mara had never existed, as if the memory of her required no more than a sigh. The adults searched. The river turned in on itself, silver and cold as a blade's edge. We children were sent home, with sand still under our nails, and stories we told ourselves to keep fear quiet at night. I learned then that mourning is not loud. It is a patient thinning, a waft of perfume left in a room after a person has gone. Growing older, I tried to forget Mara as you forget a dream, with a careful turning away, with a stubborn insisting that the world be only as difficult as the present moment. But the house did not forget. It remained, a living thing with the patience of a saint and the longing of a child who has never learned to let go. Sometimes I would drift back in my memory to that kitchen window and feel the air there, as if the room remembered me too. The old house stood there with the same pale mouth of a door, and the same windows that collected light and kept it, like a book, kept to be read again and again. I walked the rooms as a visitor might, careful not to wake the house, careful not to demand more memory than it could offer. And in the attic, behind a cadre of shelves that never seemed to stay in the same arrangement for long, I found a door that did not live there the first time I came. The door was small, almost shy, as if it had learned to hide from a child's eyes. It concealed a room that did not look like a room, but a memory of a room, a kind of inside-out space where the air tasted faintly of lilac and old rain. The place did not welcome you with gaudy colour or loud furniture. It offered its silence like a grown-up's quiet, the sort of calm that makes you weep because you realize how much you have missed by being away. On a shelf stood a dusty album of photographs, the sort that are pasted to stiff boards and kept because they hold a detail we fear to forget. I turned the pages slowly, and there she was, the girl from my childhood summers, Mara, only now older in the image than she could possibly have lived to be in the real world. Her eyes were closed in one picture, as if she slept. In another, she gazed at me with a small, knowing smile, and in a third there was a smear of something that was not ink, but the memory of the river itself, the glimmer of water on skin. But what caught my breath and kept it somewhere between terror and wonder was not Mara's face, but the space around her, an outline of a figure standing just behind her, a shape that did not belong to the two-dimensional world of a photograph. It was pale, almost bluish in colour, and it wore the look of someone who has learned to watch from a place where time does not pass. It did not touch Mara, but it hovered close enough that you could believe it was listening to the same breath Mara exhaled. I turned another page, and the memory of Mara sharpened into a living thing. There, etched into the corner of the page, was a small, childlike handwriting that did not belong to Mara, but to a child who had vanished long before I understood the word memory. It read in careful, uneven letters, "Remember to keep the house fed, and to tell no one where the door lies." The handwriting was mine, or it was the house's, or it was the voice of a memory that had learned to mimic mine